Well everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 and see how this particular tablet holds up in 2024. Now, the thing I've always liked about the Tab S8 was that this was a very, very good tablet when it first came out, and it's honestly one of the first Galaxy Tabs that I ended up buying that I ended up keeping for a long period of time. I still use mine from time to time, but when this thing first came out, I was using this thing all of the time. I loved having a very big tablet like this, even though this thing wasn't the biggest size they made. This was one of the bigger sized, tablets I owned at the time. And this was one of those ones that had Android on it. I love Android so much. I sound like I don't know anything about Android when I say that, but this tablet had so much capability behind it. And the thing I liked a lot about this particular tablet was that Samsung was throwing in so many trade-in deals or just buying deals. And if you bought the Samsung Galaxy S22 that year, you were able to get a Tab S8, or it was some deal that I bought, and I was able to get a Tab S8 for significantly cheaper because I had that offer of basically, buying this type of tablet. So I liked it a lot for that reason. I will tell you, if you want to pick up this tablet or some other tablets, I'll link these down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside of the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8, on the front of this particular device, you are getting that 11-inch TFT LCD panel. Now it's 1600 by 2560, a very big panel, very good sized panel as well. And I will tell you, it's a good panel when it comes down to it. As always, we really don't have that much to complain about here with these types of panels from Samsung. I will tell you, these are not OLED panels, but they're still very decent panels for the most part. The Tab S9 definitely has a significantly better screen, but this thing is not that bad, and I still think it looks pretty good when it kind of comes down to it. It still gets 120 Hz too though, which is really nice. As always, I love being able to throw in a 120 Hz display inside of these types of devices, and with this one, it's basically the same exact thing. It holds up very, very well, I would say, against a lot of the competition, but I do still feel like iPads are giving you better panels. But again, it's not that big of a deal, and it's whatever, we can kind of move on from it. Around this whole entire tablet, you are getting a complete flat side around it, which is something I actually like a lot. Having those flat sides coming around with this particular tablet is very, very cool. And as always, like if I'm going through and if I'm purchasing a tablet, I like this thing for having that type of capability and basically performing at a very high level and feeling and performing really, really well from that build quality standpoint. I think that in and of itself is another really cool thing going on for this particular device too. And I think personally for me, like if I'm going through and getting some sort of a device, like I said, I like this thing for having that type of capability and performing really well from that particular side as well. So that in and of itself, once again, gets a thumbs up for me. You're still getting an SD card slot on this particular tablet too, which is another really cool thing. As always, if I'm getting the expandable storage inside of a tablet, I like having that type of capability right there too. And this is basically giving me that type of stuff there too, which is another, once again, really, really cool thing going on for this particular tablet from that standpoint as well. Now on the backside, complete flat back, nothing super crazy going on here that we haven't already seen before. It's pretty much what you'd expect. You're getting the stylus on the side, you're getting your camera setup, which a lot of people probably won't even use, to be honest. And that's kind of it. It's a minimalistic tablet for the most part, but I like the fact that you get the stylus built inside of the box. You're getting the stylus support on the back side of this tablet as well, which is really cool. And I'll tell you, for the most part, it still feels very premium. It looks very good. My only complaint really is that I kind of wish it had, an OLED panel on the front, but not a lot of tablets have OLED screens. You still look at iPads, none of them are like OLED, some are LED, but like for the most part, Samsung, they make really good displays. So I just would love to see a really good display on side of these things, but this is still a pretty good, one when it kind of comes down to it as well. So from that particular side, definitely gets a thumbs up for me. Now on the camera front, this tablet is giving you a dual camera setup on the backside, so a 13 megapixel wide and then a 6 megapixel ultra wide camera. And on the front side, it's giving you a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. Now this camera is actually pretty decent. You're still able to get 4K at 60 on the front and the back of this particular tablet, which I think is genuinely very, very good. I do think getting a tab like this and essentially having that type of capability right there is very good. It's a very nice thing to have. And once again, I do think this in and of itself is a very, very cool thing. Like when you're getting this type of tablet, I think it holds up very, very well from that particular perspective. Like it definitely gets a thumbs up for me from that particular side, which I think is actually really nice. Now, if you're wanting to go up to resolution, there's no 8K capability, but still 4K at 60 is more than enough for me, and I think that's the bare minimum that a lot of tablets should be having. I also like the fact that this tablet is giving you an ultra-wide camera on the front. And this is actually a pretty nice thing. Not a lot of tablets have that type of capability right there too. And once again, I do think if I'm going through and getting that type of device, I like the fact that this thing is giving me that type of thing right there too. So again, is it comparable to like a Samsung Galaxy S24 camera or S22 camera of that year? Maybe not quite, but it's still very good. And I do think like if I'm going through and getting some sort of a tablet, this thing is going to be giving me a pretty good experience from that side. And I do think from that side, it definitely gets a thumbs up for me, without a doubt. For it performing at that kind of level, I think it's a really, really nice thing that this tablet has going for it. So that right there gets a thumbs up for me for sure. In terms of software, this thing still on Android 14. You are getting One UI 6 on this thing right now, so it's really nice that you are able to upgrade your Android tablet to this particular version of software. But maybe the only thing I would say is that compared to maybe the Tab S9, this thing is not going to last as long as the Tab S9, but still, if you're always going to compare your tablet or your current device to the best one that's out, then it's always not going to be as good, and there's going to be a time the Tab S9 is not going to be as good as the Tab S10. So it really just depends on how you look at it. Personally for me, I think this tablet is still doing a really good job. I'm still a really big fan of the Tab S8. Obviously, I'm a fan of the Tab S9, but I'm a very big fan of the Tab S8. Really, the only thing from the Android side is, do you like stock Android or do you like a skin version of Android? We've had this debate for so many years now. I think One UI has gotten very, very good. And if you don't really care too much about skin versions and all that other stuff, I think this is an excellent tablet when it comes down to that particular side as well, which once again gets a thumbs up for me for sure again. So from that side, kind of covers it up there. Performance-wise, has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipset inside with 8 or 12 gigabytes of RAM. Now this particular tablet, like I said, is giving you that type of capability of giving you like that better experience. It's still a very good performing tablet when it comes down to it, which is something I like a lot about this particular tablet. So the performance level of this thing is very high. I think it holds up very well from that particular perspective. Like if you're trying to go through and get a good performing tablet, this thing is a very good performing tablet when it comes down to it, which is something I like a lot. Like I've said before, like if I'm going through and going to get some sort of a device, I like the fact that this thing is going to be giving me that type of capability. It's gonna like, if you're doing basic performing stuff, the thing is gonna be perfectly fine. And if you're going to do extreme like performing level stuff, I mean, it's gonna be great as well. This thing is about the same performance level as something like a Samsung Galaxy S22. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. Like if you're going to go through and get if you're going to get some sort of performing device, this thing is going to be at the same level as an S22, maybe an S22 Plus. That's a really good performing device still. And if you get the 12 gigabyte of RAM one, that's going to be closer to the S22 Ultra. So this thing is going to be giving great experience. The only problem maybe for the most part is that 8 Gen 1 chipset was kind of prone to having some throttling issues. It was the best when it came down to like the performance management kind of. But even then, not that big of a deal. Still a perfectly fine tablet for the most part in terms of performance. And I still think it holds up very well from that side as well. So when it kind of comes down to it, what I'll definitely tell you, I definitely do think the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 is still a very good tablet for a lot of different reasons. I still think it holds up very well, and I think if you're going to go and pick up a tablet, this thing is a very, very decent option. The only thing I will tell you though for the most part is that if you're wanting to go and kind of take it up a notch, maybe the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 is the one I'd recommend more, or a different variation of the Tab S8. Maybe you can go and get the Tab S8 Plus or the Tab S8 Ultra. That might be another thing you can probably think about getting as well, which is really cool. But I will still tell you for the most part, like if I'm going to go through and get some sort of device, you might be better off if you just go buy the Tab S8, maybe the Plus or the Ultra, and still keep this thing for like the next like 2-3 years at least. So that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.